Hello everybody, and welcome back to a Fractal Art stream. Today we're going to be focusing on just polishing some old stuff. The poll in the Discord was tied, so I just chose whatever I felt like, and that was working on some old pieces. I've already got one queued up. We'll probably work on a second one as well. I'm probably going to split it into 1 hour doing this piece and 1 hour doing another piece. These are some older pieces. The first one's going to be a linear Foci nebula, and the second one is going to be a spherical plant. I'm just going to work on polishing them. These were mostly like fractals that were sort of in the middle of being designed. They weren't completely finished. I'd say that they were getting close to being in a very nice polished state, maybe somewhere in the, I'd say somewhere in the middle of where I'd want before I'd publish anything. I say not having published anything on DA in months, despite having many publishable ready pieces. Again, if you have any questions about the process or how fractal art works, feel free to ask. Alright, so let's take a look at what was happening here. So, looking back on this piece, I was going for some sort of almost erupting structure on the bottom into some sort of explosion at the top. Yeah. Again, this is a linear Foci nebula, so the Poincaré transform. That's an interesting decision on my part. So this is predominantly wow, these are some fascinating choices for transformations. Well, it's predominantly Foci and linear, or it is in normal circumstances, but it seems I went wild with the transformations, and there isn't actually a single linear transform in here in the original. This is kind of why I enjoy working on old pieces, stuff that I've forgotten, because I sometimes go wild with experimentation, and this is one of those cases where there isn't, I didn't use linear or anything even remotely similar, and that's, well, the staple of a linear Foci nebula. It's all a weird series of transformations to try and make an amalgam of stuff. We're probably going to be fixing that, changing it today. Also, the new channel point stuff is live, so if you want to check that out, feel free to redeem your points for cool stuff, and let me know how the music is. This is courtesy of Windswept, but spelled with V's instead of W's. It should theoretically prevent us from being muted when the video is ready, so people in the Fractal Art community who want to watch this later, because I know a ton of you are in Europe, you can view that afterwards, without everything being muted along the way. So, alright, so let's take a look at some of the bases here. Very interesting decision to have Julian, of all things, as one of the fundamental parameters. It's a blurred Julian, though, because I've got sign blur acting here, which fascinates me. Let's take a look at what this is actually doing. As far as I can tell, the sign blur is what's mostly filling in, trying to give this piece a bit of a glow. That's what it looks like my goal was. Music is nice, but a bit loud with respect to your voice. Great, I will turn it down. I am literally just running this off of Windows Media Player at the moment. I kid you not, because I had to download this. It wasn't on Spotify. Yeah. Should be more in the background, yeah. I've turned it down a little bit. Hopefully that's better. But do let me know if it's still a bit too loud. I can turn it down further if need be. Alright. So, let's take a look here. So my guess is that based on this, let's take a look at the X forms as well, and how everything's interacting. Yeah, this is what's giving us the glow in the background. We're working on, again, a bunch of old pieces, so it's as new to you as it is to me, so to speak. Yeah, so this is really spreading out the stars quite a bit and giving us this sort of background glow. 2 seems to be good, because you do get rings here as a result of the sign blur, result of sign blur being sign blur, though I should probably go ahead and switch this to a Gaussian if I wanted something to blend in the background, probably just as well. No, hold on. Actually, the sign blur does a slightly better job, I think, because of the way that this is warped around. Alright, I'll leave that as is for the moment. First part of this, as it will be for this piece and the next piece that we're going to be working on, it's going to be me remembering what on earth I was doing when I originally made it. Because it's been a while since I worked on these pieces, but I had them written down, so there was something I liked about them that I wanted to keep working on. But, Caltech, gotta say, really eats into your free time. Okay. So the eyefish is predominantly what's filling in everything. That's good to know. Spherical should probably be doing something similar. Yeah, it's giving us some of the structure there. Pretty typical spherical things. Normally spherical would be normally you'd have it set up as one of your first iterators. It's good to have as something to base a nebula on, or at least it would be if this was a normal nebula, but I like doing my nebula very differently. It's led to a very different style, at least I'd like to think so, from a lot of other people who try to do nebula, like space-themed stuff. Okay, well I chose these parameters exceedingly carefully by the looks of it, because any modification, any slight deviation, gets you something entirely different. Welcome to chaos theory. Alright. Let's take a look, though. Okay, so this is filling in stuff. I should probably just take a look at the X-forms and see what they're doing, like, to really get a better sense of it. I'm already kind of a fan of that, though. Like, just modifying that a little bit. Yeah, interesting. Okay, we're gonna mess around a little bit, because I can see what the main problem with this was when I stopped working on it. If we zoom in a little bit, you'll notice here there's a lot of messiness there from an artistic standpoint. There's a lot of stuff that crosses over itself. It all sort of, it seems a bit too chaotic, and that's not necessarily a good thing. There is a clear, cohesive structure, but there isn't anything that really makes it beautiful and really space-like, beyond, you know, stars and everything. But I like having very well-defined structures in my fractals. So that's what we're going to be aiming for as we go ahead and modify this. Something that's a little bit more clear-cut and probably a little bit more elegant than this sort of mess at the bottom, especially. And this mess over here. A big example is look at the directions of how everything's like flowing together. You've got something sort of curving up this way, which doesn't really blend into the overall curve that I think I was going for. Looks fine if you zoom out, but that's true for anything because you're just lowering the resolution and tricking the eyes. But we want to make sure this looks good up to a certain amount of detail. And to do that, we're going to be making a whole bunch of changes, I anticipate, over the course of the next hour or so, which is what I've allocated for working on this. So let's take a look. I was using a small Gaussian and then this in order to blur some of it. If I get rid of that, is it really necessary? Not at all. I think that was probably heavier at some point in the past. Hyperbolic? Ew. Why would I ever? Okay, let's put back on the crackle and let's go ahead and modify these values quite a bit. No, thank you. Crackle cell size up a little bit. Crackle power. We could get a cool little effect by doing that at crackle power 0, but I'm not sure. I don't normally like doing that. Let's just set the crackle scale to 0 so it looks more like stars. We could throw in a polar or something in order to go ahead and make nice little stars, or a correction, not stars, more like comets. A lot of people like using rays. I think I've spoken heavily in the past about how I don't particularly like rays. I think it doesn't make nearly as good, like, thin tails on the end of it, whereas polar really gets the comet sort of style right, and I think looks a lot nicer. What's the music this week? The music this week is a series of folk music designed by Windswept, but it's Windswept with V's instead of W's, and it is, I think it's royalty-free music. I'm trying it out because some people in the Fractal Art community really wanted to watch the videos that I had done of the streams, but unfortunately they get muted because I was playing pop music, so we're trying this, which theoretically should not get us muted. We're gonna see how it goes, and hope for the best, really. There's not much more I can do. It's up to Twitch. Alright, so let's take a look at this. Where was I going here? Alright, I see what this was doing. We're gonna want to move that out a decent bit. So I had the y-axis very much pronounced versus the x-axis. This is mostly the goal of trying to elongate part of it, which is a really good way to make motion in a piece. You like, in order to, so if I were to, hold on, let me bring this back to about normal. So you'll see here, everything is now, it's not elongated, it's not flowing, but a really easy trick to make everything sort of flow together is to just, simply elongate one of the axes with respect to another one on the vector. So the y component of the vector being particularly longer, and of course you could do the same thing for the x component of the vector, though it would, of course, augment it in, well, you would anticipate the opposite way. In this case, we'd be compressing it. That's not always true, that's just how I've rotated it, just to be clear. Rotated it and using what transforms I am currently using. So, let's take a look here. So it is a bit of a mess, but we can probably clean that up a little bit just by seeing what I need to do in order to balance out the nice blurs of a spacey design and still have a sort of motion, an explosive motion, I think is what I was going for, from the bottom to the top of the fractal. I do hope you like the music for this week. Be sure to let me know if you do in the Discord, which link is down below. It's a great place for feedback and keeping up to date with all the cool stuff we're doing here on stream. Okay, well we can tighten up the background a little bit. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'll try to answer them the best that I can. I certainly don't know everything, but I have been doing this a while and I know some cool tips and tricks. And I'm happy to delve into the fundamental chaos theory if you really want me to. Have a PowerPoint presentation ready with your name on it. Alright. So we do get a bit of crossing here, but it's mostly a result of how things are being. I'm trying to make sure the composure is still tight, but I don't want it to look too muddled, I think would be the best word to use. Again, right now there's so much happening in the background and it just doesn't look great. I could probably just gouge it all out, which is it's a trick. If you want to get rid of detail, just blur it. Why leave it there? But a better technique would be to actually just modify the transformations that are causing it in the first place and make sure that you're good to go in that regard. In this case, I do want to make sure that everything is aligned nicely. Foci linear nebulae tend to be very much more abstract than your typical fractal. I tend to try to approach it from a much more artistic than a more mathematical standpoint in most cases. Geometric stuff, as I think I mentioned in the past, phenomenal for, really delving into the math. Space, nebulas, that sort of stuff, not as much. You can if you really want to, but I generally find it more of an enjoyable experience to approach these types of pieces with a very artistic view in mind. Okay. Oh, what modification would this be? I don't think I ended on 18. Sometimes, I'll work past it, work past that number. We were on to 33 last time I was working on this one. Well, I'm gonna work on 34. Keep going from here. Save early, save often. That is a rule. All right. Come here. All right. Weren't you the weird, yeah, this was the weird Julian with a blur. It's not going to do anything if I'm moving it around. Okay. Let's go to the preaffines. Do some fine-tuning. We will need to do some fine-tuning for sure after we've done all of these big movements and changes. We won't need to do it there, though. Here, however. Okay, so we can sort of tighten that up a little bit more. Let's see what would be best. Could do that. I think I like the additional detail of having it right about there, actually. Let's see. Would rescaling it do anything particularly useful? Something good there is we sort of got alignment on the boundary of the piece. That's really nice. Having alignments like that is, again, not a geometric piece, but it's nice to have things avoid overlap when you can. I think it makes it look cleaner overall. Not that that'll last for very long with the additional changes we'll be making. I do plan I'll probably mess around with some different transformations along the way. Okay, this is one of the parts that fills in. Yes. Oh, I see where I was going with this. That's a bit of a chaotic... Yeah. Okay. Go ahead and resize this. Okay, we're going to be collapsing there. Be very careful with this one. It is filling in a good portion of the detail in the fractal. Which means it's mostly the culprit for the overlap that we're seeing at the moment. I really hate these flashes, and I think it's a result of using OpenCL. As far as I recall, when I was doing this with the CPU, I didn't used to make these flashes. But it's okay. It's livable. It's not absolutely horrid. Okay, the question is, where do I want this? The irony is that I've put it right back in the original place. Or close to the original place. And I kind of like it where it is. This is a little bit cleaner, right? We have less obvious overlap. A lot of this stuff is blurred out. These are some independent structures, though. And we're sort of creating a nice crook here, which is kind of interesting. That's mostly a result of the Poincare transformation that's happening. It's our final transform, though. It's slightly neater, but not by much. Probably going to want to make a few changes. I am, however, going to get rid of whatever on earth I was doing with this Julian, though. Because I'm not sure I like it, and I'm not sure I want it there. I am very tempted to just turn this into a Gaussian. And just have it blur the background. Apparently I tried it at one point, because that was set to 0.5, which is not the default value of 1. I did, and this was my goal. Interesting. So I was trying to create a sort of blur effect, like a glow on the nebula. I see what I was going for there. And I do agree with that choice. It's not a bad one. But I don't think it's necessarily what the piece needs either. I'm not completely certain there. I might go ahead and go back to the sign blur, which is what was originally there, and see if I can get that in a place where it blurs the piece nicely. Or maybe nicer, I suppose I should say. Because I do, in general, sign blur I find is nicer than a Gaussian. A Gaussian can be good if you want something large in the background that just filters everything out, you know, gets rid of it all. But it's not necessarily the nicest thing in the world if you want to create a glow effect. I do think sign blur does a slightly better job, at least in my opinion. It also does a slightly better job if you want stars to be various different sizes. I think it looks slightly more natural. More like bokeh, I suppose. Which isn't a bad thing, though some people will speak out against it for sure. Alright. Okay, so this was one of the main contributors to how we were warping around certain locations. I do kind of like increasing it, honestly. That doesn't look half bad. It really doesn't. I see why I chose eyefish here. Again, a wonderful, absolutely phenomenal way to warp your pieces in a way that looks really cool. We tried it with Spherical Plants, and it turned out quite nicely, and apparently I was also testing it here, and it turns out it works here as well. That said, I'm not sure what value I'd want that, if I'm being honest. It does, because it gives a natural structure to the fractal. I say natural. It literally forces everything into a structure that's warped in a sort of, I can't say bubblesque way. It's warped into an eyefish way. There's no better way of saying that, to be honest. Let's see what it's acting on, out of curiosity. So it's got a base weight of 0.4. I'm tempted to bring that up just a little bit. Gotcha. So we're going to need it there so it interacts with our blur, so effectively the glow still stays on. Ooh, I could get rid of that, and that does get rid of the line. The problem is I kind of like what the line does for guiding the edge of the fractal. Ooh. Not sure though. I'm gonna set that off for right now, for just temporarily, because we've still got some internal parts that are working nicely. What was I doing here with iterator 2? Oh no, we definitely need that. Why did I turn that off? Probably because I didn't have this set nearly as high as it is now. I think that works a lot better to try and mesh the fractal together. Don't know why I would have turned that off then. Ooh, we can get much better depth though. Like a little better detailing if we turn this off. That way we're not interfering in one of the middle sections. Come to think of it, if that's true, we could try it on iterator 4, but I think that might be a bit too much. Okay, I'm tempted to say it's a bit too much. But I'm also tempted to say this looks really epic. And I think I'm going with very epic. I think actually just getting rid of the eye fish in the filling parts in the middle of the fractal actually did a lot of work here. Did we already go to 36? What are numbers? Apparently not. Okay, that looks really cool, actually. I do like that a lot better because it gets rid of the gets rid of a lot of the interference that I was mentioning before. And so we mostly focus on like cool details like inside the fractal now. You know, we don't have all of that disgusting overlap. Eyefish was mostly the culprit for it. Yeah, looks like. If I set this off, it's not going to do us any good. It's mostly going to get rid of edge stuff. I do not like that. Of course, I could turn this off and turn the other one back on, but I think that's a bit too... Yeah. I don't like it going softer in that regard. Let's see. Do I want any emphasis on the stars? Will it affect it at all, you ask? No. Probably because I have it turned off there. Let's see. Ooh, we can be clever about how much we want to display. I love that view of only half the fractal right now. Because we just basically we got rid of the middling bit. Central piece. I probably want an even weight or an approximately even weight with the other part here. Oh no, actually this is set way higher. This is iterative 3. Oh, I see. So this was mostly just to select this and give some highlights. Okay, I see where I was going with it. Yeah, so we'll want this on I'll probably want this on 1 for all of them. Or, ooh, except iterative 3, which this one is. Don't want to select it if it's already doing the work. That said, what about this one? Oh, I see why I turned that off. I actually don't like the highlights there. It looks terrible. Oof. Okay. Again, been ages since I worked with this piece at all, so we're exploring it together, trying to remember what I did. Okay. Okay, I can see why that's a cool effect, but I also agree with my original decision to get rid of it. It de-emphasizes the background, which is nice, but it overemphasizes, like, the main body of the fractal. Yeah. Then again, yeah, I could just fix that by turning this up a little bit. Not too much, though, otherwise it blurs everything out. That's a fine balance I need to strike with this piece. Okay. That's okay, we'll figure it out. For sure. This should affect the edge highlighting, which I think looks significantly better if we turn it up a little bit. I generally try to avoid doing any post whatsoever. So I like making a lot of changes that sort of affect highlighting and emphasis and blurs all within the fractal itself. I think it looks a lot nicer in general. Okay, that's slightly messier. And I don't like how much the crook, the upper crook, is sort of getting distorted. Plus we have this weird edge now that's not doing a lot. Probably want to get rid of sign blur for that reason. But that's not half bad. Oh, don't save the image. We're sure not done rendering this. Okay. I'm going to leave this where it is right now. I do not like this sign blur. In fact, I think it's cool to have that on its edges there, but I don't think it looks good at all. I wonder, however, because I do like the blur effect that it's giving us, would a depth blur be a better choice? What do I need to set it up to? What are the parameters? I don't use depth blur a lot, if I'm being honest. But it did perform wonders on one of our other pieces. So I'm very tempted to try it here. Okay, maybe not. Even if I turn up the power. No, it's not actually gonna fill in anything the way I wanted to, is it? It was worth a shot. I was just curious to see, but it's mostly for, like, again, creating motion. It's another good way of doing that. I was just curious because it worked really well with what we were doing previously with a bit of Gaussian, but I guess I already had the Gaussian in place, so. Or was it sign blur? Probably sign blur, let's be honest. Okay. What do you know, the Gaussian actually looks slightly better. We don't want it too high, but we don't want it too low either. We do want it to fill in like, again, blurring out some of the details necessary, because if we look at it like this, right, this looks terrible. Now, to be fair, right now it's effectively an empty transform, so it doesn't look great to begin with. You wouldn't really want an empty transform unless you were making stars. But there's a balance to be struck between how much detail you want in the piece and how much you want, like, it to look soft, I guess would be a good word for it. Trying to choose words that seem good. What's the difference between Gaussian and Gaussian blue? Oh, okay, I see. That's right. I've now recalled why I always use Gaussian. That said, I don't like what it's doing right now, so let's take a look at how the weights are set up. Okay. That works probably best at like 0.3. Yeah. Okay. No, we don't need that. I'm trying to figure out where I want it. No idea if it'll help because I don't do unstructured too much, but how about a post-spherical? That would be a good idea. It's worth a shot anyway. Post-spherical on like one of the main body transforms to like, I could see it working. I don't do post-spherical a lot. Most of the time I try to stick to well, I mostly try to stick to other things, but I'm not sure if it would do a ton, but I think it's worth attempting. I am, however, curious. Yeah. Sorry, I'm still going through the X forms right now on this one. I tend to do a lot of unstructured pieces, but I've recently been getting into structured more and more. Lots of tilings and stuff, you know? Just been fun. I've actively tried to decide how much blur I want in the background, just by making slight changes to these iterators, because I'm really not sure. You know, I kind of like it slightly better without the blur on the main body, so I wonder if... Never mind, that was a mistake. Increase this, please. My bad. Yeah, because we do want it in the background a bit. I do have it on this one, it doesn't need to be. Okay, so let's go ahead. One of the blurs, yeah. That's fair. It's worth a shot. I mean, it would spread it out in, I think, a nice way. I don't usually do that. Normally what I do, okay, well, if this was an ordinary piece, I'd just have a Gaussian acting like on its own in the background, basically just becoming the background itself, blurring everything out, while the main fractal sort of rests on top, so to speak. But you know what? Let's give it a shot and see why not. I just triggered post define, didn't I, instead of post transforms. Show post transforms, there we go. Let's go ahead and throw in, yeah, why not? I'm just curious to see how it'll, sorry, let's, ooh. You know, I do like that, because we can use that to actually fill in that central part of the crook a little bit more elegantly. Good suggestion. I'm not sure how much how much needs to be done. 3's pretty good. The Poincaré final transform is throwing me for a loop right now. It was a fascinating idea on my part, and not one I'm sure really does the piece a lot of good. My main problem at the moment is that doing this means that the accentuation from the star is sort of spreading out. Yeah. What about something in the middle? 3.5, maybe? Yes, but we'd probably want to, curious, if I throw in, something I like doing most of the time is throwing in a Mobius. And I do this mostly because it's got very nice parameters that make it easy to modify like how things are positioned and stuff. It's also really good for fine-tuning, at least in my opinion. So we can sort of position this, like the blurs a little bit better. I'll leave in the spherical for right now because I do like what it's doing for the center of this. Now it's just a matter of getting it to be positioned the way I want it to. How much rotation do I want? I could get a lot or a little. This probably won't do us too much good. Actually, it does sort of... no. I could warp it in, but I don't think it's going to really get rid of the main problem here. So, let's take a look at negative value for that. No, but it gets rid of the central part, so... So I like the little bit of detail that we get here with like the sort of separated body. Like we've got a sort of swirl there that's really nice. But that said, let's see. I'm very tempted to just blur it all out. Or I could probably just fix this, honestly, if I went to these settings, to the imaging settings, and sort of made it a little bit more blue. And then made the blur itself a bit lighter, a little less pronounced. We do lose that nice little curl there, that little swirl in the center, which is a lot of fun. Sorry, I should probably leave this at 3.5. Yeah, we'll keep it as is for right now. Yeah, because we make the blur less pronounced overall, then it sort of fades in a little bit more nicely, but I don't like what we lose, like in terms of detail. This is the full detail for the record of what we'd be looking at, but I'm trying to, because like that little swirl we get as a result of throwing in the spherical, thank you again for the suggestion, is really nice. The only problem is the background's not sort of filling it in nicely, but that's okay. We will get around to that. I am fascinated by my choice of point carry here. Yeah, pre-Mobius for it would be a good approach. I like pre-Mobius for most things when it comes to moving things around. I've strongly advocated for it here on stream for just about everything. It's ideal for actually like translating and rotating and all this sort of stuff because the Mobius transform naturally has parameters that let you do it, which is super convenient. I am fascinated by my choice of pointer here. And I see what it's doing for the structure, but I'm tempted to literally just turn this back into linear for the moment. I say linear, but I know I'd put it into a Mobius anyway, eventually. I think I did like the sort of curvature of the hook, but I wasn't completely sold on it, if I'm being honest. Oh, you meant on the blur. Oh, yeah. No. Sorry, my bad. I thought you were talking about, like, with respect to the entire thing, and I was like, yeah, I can... I definitely agree that, like, Mobius is a good way of, like, rotating stuff. That's what I'm doing right here, actually. Or, I say rotating. Just transforming, for lack of a better word. It is what a transform does. That is, in fact, mathematical definition. I don't want to reposition it at all. I do ever want to give it a little bit of curvature, and that's what the C parameter is good for. I want to see if we can sort of restructure this a little bit. I wasn't a huge fan of the original structure to begin with. I'm going to zoom out, actually, just so I can see the whole piece while I am modifying this sort of curvature parameter. That'll sort of undo it, but it's mostly gonna... Okay, so we have a natural boundary for the piece now, which is kind of nice, but I think it looks a little bit too flat if we do that. Again, we'll need to go through and modify all of this stuff again because it's no longer in quite the position we want it to be. That's also very intense now. Okay. Yeah, okay. We are going to unflatten that, actually. Okay, let's bring it in just a tad. Could collapse it in on itself. But I don't really like this sort of arcing is what I'm against and why I wanted to like spread it out a little bit more. But it's sort of a natural result of how everything's positioned at the moment. And then if we don't do that, then it's just perfectly straight, and that doesn't look good at all. So I could pull it out a little bit more. We still sort of get the nice hook structure, but now without Poincaré messing everything up, we sort of, we get at least in my opinion, we get a slightly nicer base. And I am just sort of zooming in and out everywhere. Just ignore that. Okay. Go ahead and save this. Because it's an interesting case, an interesting change. It's fine, I like your suggestions. No, I love hearing from people in the Fractal Art community. We haven't had a ton of people because I hadn't advertised it too much in the Fractal Art streams, so I love hearing your guys' ideas for things to test out and try. For sure. I just slightly misinterpreted what you meant. It's fine. Don't worry. Okay, so we have this up very high in order to get us a cool warped structure, which I still like. But I probably have to look at the selection weights again, because now everything's all sort of messed up. Again, we've got a whole bunch of nonsense happening here. And by nonsense, I mean a whole bunch of collisions. I'm treating it like a hash map. Anyway. I said collisions, and the first thing that came to mind was this interesting approach for neighbor detection, seeing how close you are to points on a Euclidean plane. So it's pretty interesting. I forget. There's an acronym for the method, and I've completely forgotten what it is. Okay, I see why I got rid of that, and probably iterator 4 as well. Iterator 4 actually does a little bit more for us because it cleans up some of the mess that's there. This looks significantly less messy with this in than it does without. Filling that in a little bit. It does, however, increase the blur a bit much. Bet somebody remembers what that's called. I, however, do not. Not off the top of my head. I was fascinated for a while with it, years ago, because I was like, oh, this is a really interesting way of doing things. It's not necessarily ideal, however. Completely unrelated to fractals in literally any way, shape, or form, for the record. That has nothing to do with fractals, that is literally just algorithms. Anyway. Okay, this looks significantly nicer. We've sort of moved things into a position. I know I didn't explain anything of what I was doing. Sorry. So what I did there was I was modifying so we literally just changed the final transform. We've basically changed how the canvas that we were working with was warped. Though to be fair, we sort of warped it into something that kind of looks like a Poincaré now that I'm looking at this handy dandy feature in Chaotica 1.5.8 where you can see what the transform's doing. That looks from a visual standpoint, though obviously not from I suppose probably not from a mathematical standpoint. I don't actually know the equation for what's happening with the Poincaré transform off the top of my head. But visually, it looks a lot like it, so we really didn't go too far there, but we've now modified all of the other transforms, just the main parameters controlling it, just essentially the weightings of everything, so that we get something that's a little bit neater. We've put it into a place where theoretically it would have looked nice before, but now since everything's sort of been changed again, we've put it into nice, neat fitting nooks and crannies. Try to think of great. I keep trying to come up with synonyms for different ways of saying things. from an artistic point of view. And I find myself falling a bit short. Let's take a look back at the blur that we were doing before the... I think, where's my post-transform for this? There was spherical, which looks good, but it's sort of fallen off a little bit. Not nearly as strong. We'd want it at, like, what, a 4? If I put that at 0. Oop, not at 0. My bad. That was the wrong thing to do. If we put this at 0... Yeah, we still get that in the background. Let's throw that up to a 1. Actually, maybe I'm just gonna increase it all the way. As much as I liked the swirl that we were getting before, again, thanks for the spherical suggestion, it's actually quite a nice touch. As much as I like it, however, I do think that the piece is better off having a very high amount of blur there, so it just sort of fades into the background and makes the whole piece a bit softer. Which is the main point of using a blur in the first place. Okay. Now, let's see if we can change... I'm just curious to see how far we can get with changing the warping before this whole thing falls apart. And the answer, I think, is not very far. This is the main part of the fractal that's sort of giving it its structure at the moment. Okay, that's pretty good. What I really love right now are these little pockets. And I'll be honest, I'd have to check what they're the result of. Most probably the way the fisheye is. Like, not fisheye, that's actually a completely separate one that does sort of the opposite thing. It's somewhere in here. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Does this give you little tooltips? It does. There is a fisheye in here, which is like iFish, except not. Blur linear. What? Wedge Julia. Are these not? Oh, no, they are. Okay, cool. Let's see, hold on, where is it? I thought these were going to be in alphabetical order, but I'm kind of confused about the ordering now. So we're just going to look at it here. Fisheye, it's right here. Looks completely different, though. We sort of got the opposite thing going on. Where it's supposed to be, pretty sure. Are they actually the same transform? That'd be really weird. I could have sworn they were meant to be, like, inverses of each other, but that looked like the same thing. I could be completely mistaken. To be fair, I don't use fisheye. I always go to iFish if I need a warping like this. Some sort of change to give the fractal a little bit of movement. Somebody out there knows better than I do about that. That's kind of weird. A strange duplicate that I didn't expect to see. Could have sworn they were different, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay, I probably don't want to mess with that too much, if I'm being completely honest. Let's also put this down to... No, never mind, I take it back. I like it higher. I like lots of blue in my fractals. I'm really just a fan of the color, so I tend to modify that far more than I should. I should maybe play around with the actual transforms that are governing this a little bit more, but I'm okay, more or less, with the structure. I'm not completely sold on this crook, though. And we could get rid of it by changing one of the transforms entirely, but I don't know. I have to think about it a little bit more. I have to contemplate really what I want out of the structure of this fractal, because I like this base that I was going for. I just shouldn't be modifying these too much, if I'm being honest. Let's go ahead and put this back up to 0.05 and apply before curves. Always apply before curves. That's not strictly true, but if you're doing abstract stuff like this, it tends to look a lot nicer. Oh, they're not inverses, but the x and y coordinates are flipped. That's what it was. Thank you. I don't use it often enough to have been familiar with the difference. Thank you. That's good to know. Alright, so... I love having fractal people here. So it becomes more of a learning experience, because I certainly don't know everything about this. That's for sure. There is still a ton out there that I have not done, and have not learned. So I love having the community here to like talk and help teach and all that sort of stuff, because these are meant to be partially a learning experience, you know, not just for me, but for people out there. I like doing tutorials on fractal styles that I know very well, just the fundamental stuff, but then there's so many different approaches, right? There are tons of different ways of making fractals out there, and I've seen some absolutely phenomenal stuff that I wouldn't even know how to do, like, in my dreams. Let's tune that down. In general, when you like rescale, like how much an impact that a transformation is having on the fractal, it usually translates to the smaller the amount, like the smaller the value of the parameter, right? The more detail you get. That's not strictly true, but it's a good way of thinking about it if you're, you know, approaching this from an artistic standpoint. Making subtle decisions about tiny little values to change. Probably meaningless in the end, but it means a lot to me because I like having them in very precise locations where everything looks nice and neat and sort of fun. The main thing still bothering me about this actually is the crook. I thought it was kind of cool at first, and now the more I look at that, the more I don't like it. So, what could we do to get rid of it? You ask. And I say... completely sure. That might be something I have to work on a little bit off stream. Because I do want to move on to a second piece. I kind of be working on a couple of different things throughout this stream. I wanted to work on this one piece, and then I wanted to switch over to a spherical plant that I didn't quite finish a while ago. Or a spherical plant, I suppose I should say, that I thought had some potential, and keep working on that. Spherical plants are fun. This is still a tad too messy, in my opinion, and I'd probably want to do a pre-blur on one of these transforms. We could probably give that a try. I'll worry about the crook later. Let's see, which one was iterator 2? Spherical? No, that's controlling too much of this portion. So let's take a look at Fochi, perhaps, this one. Not even worrying about color today. No, that's what's doing most of our... Oh, right, that's the highlighting one. Yes, I see what I was doing with that one. Okay. You know, we can actually fix most of this if I just reduced the weight of this one, which is now, after all the changes, highlighting a bunch of stuff that I don't really want it to. Let's take a look at this. I do want emphasis on like the blur, but not too much. I don't want the detail of the fractal to like completely disappear. So I might just get rid of it for this one in particular. I might soften that a little bit. I say soften in a very non-fractal way. Oh, but I kind of need that detail, don't I? Getting rid of it sure cleans up the fractal at least a little bit, but I think the detail's kind of necessary because it adds too much to be ignored. Let's see. It's kind of cool having that detail, and it's kind of cool having in the filled in portion as well. Part of me is very tempted to just move it around a bit and see what it could do for us that way, but the other part of me is tempted to just get rid of it entirely and basically depend on, yeah, let's reduce that to 1. Depend on the main body of the fractal to do most of the work. I am not convinced this is a good approach, but I am very tempted by it, because boy, it sure cleans up some stuff. And at the same time, it does make some other stuff more messy. So maybe we could keep it as like mild background detail. How soft can I make it without it completely disappearing, you ask? The question really becomes, how much does it contribute to the fractal if I leave it in? And how much does it contribute to the fractal if I don't? And the answer right now is I am indecisive about what I want from this particular effect. Okay, we will leave it in at a half, which is sort of middle ground. That was way too high. It's not bad. I don't know. I'm not sold on what I want out of that one. This is another Fochi, right? Let's see. This is the one controlling the cool things, the really interesting part of this fractal, which is like the upper edges. Now I could have that blend in a little bit more, but I think that loses important detail. By having this at a higher weight, we have created the end of the piece, so to speak. We have effectively given the user's eye, or given the viewer's eye something to focus on, like a little bit, like it's softer in these regions, and then by increasing the base weight and not just having this blend in, like we have a little bit of like a focal point, which looks a lot more natural to, well, I guess I can't say that. That's not strictly true. It's sometimes true that it looks more natural in normal nebulae, because you'd sort of have like pockets of like more condensed, clustered like gases and potentially like stellar nurseries. But I don't know. I will think about it. I think I like it being brighter overall. I did leave that off. I see. What was I getting rid of here? I don't think that needs to be. I think that needs to be off at the moment. Making a whole bunch of changes. That looks a bit too empty because getting rid of the... So 3, 4 are the main, the big ones, the big body parts of the fractal, so to speak. They're filling in a lot of the interior. And because they're filling in a lot of the interior, I am very tempted to not remove them. At the same time, I kind of like the added detail of getting rid of them. It's just a tiny design choice. Like, this is extremely minor, and yet means so much to me. I am very much a perfectionist when it comes to fractals nowadays. I didn't used to be. I used to publish, you know, whatever nonsense I came up with, whatever experimentation I did, and now I have like this standard for how good it has to be in order to like put it anywhere out in the open, for better or for worse. And so those tiny details are oftentimes what I get caught up on, even if to most people they probably don't matter that much. We are approaching the end of the first hour, and I said I wanted to move to a spherical plant, so I will quickly finish this up. I think the structure, specifically this overarching crook, still not completely to my liking, but it's less messy now. I think it's still a bit messy, but like not nearly as much. And I do like the structure a little bit better overall. I like the movement that we have going. I like the sort of pockets that we have here with little stars that you can see like centering them. It's a fascinating like little approach, because like this is mimicked by this, is mimicked by this, is mimicked by this. There's a lot of patterning in there that sort of gives it a theme. I'm not sure what I would call it. Adamantium was the original name. The updated name would be something along the lines of thing with many eyes. I don't know. Spider's gaze. Probably not that, actually. Maybe something Lovecraftian. There was a point in time, actually, where I wanted to do a Lovecraft series. Like, a series of fractals based on, like, Lovecraft creatures. And, like, the old gods and stuff from his novels. I had a piece sort of like that, and it was a beginning, but not quite there, and I wasn't sure if I really wanted to continue with it, and so I didn't end up pursuing it. But with each passing day, I am suddenly more interested in pursuing it further. Okay. That does sort of destroy that part, doesn't it? Oh, no, not 12. Dear God, no. That said, I do like that it is flying a little bit better there. What are the... These aren't equivalent lengths at the moment. Let's go ahead and fix that. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, what did I just change that to? What was that before? 125? Something like that? 130? Well, let's try to find that quickly. Somebody who is paying attention on stream. What was the value of this angle? I say, knowing full well there's an undo button that I am not currently using. That's kind of cool, though. Forget what it was before. That looks interesting. I don't want to blur it out too much, so I probably want these at an equal weight, or an equal length. Weight, length. What are words? Negative 0.5. I could align it there. The reason I'm tempted not to is because I like that effect. Again, I really like the bottom part of this piece, and I'm not as sold on this. And yet this is, I mean, probably because this is all I focused on while we've been editing it. I've just been like, how do we make this look really cool? And I think we've gotten it to a place where it's pretty cool. I do need to clean up this a little bit more. That's just a matter of changing the X forms a little bit more. Those values just a bit. And then I think it would be ready to go. I do like the highlighting here, and I don't like this curvature at the moment. Just personal opinion. There's the previous saved version. You are right, and that is the reason I save early, save often. And yet, this little accident brought me somewhere where I was kind of intrigued, and not actually considering modifying the fractal to begin with. So there you go. Sometimes that happens. More often than not, I dare say, with abstract pieces, but there you go. 0.6. Yeah, 0.65, I think it was. Or just 0.6 is probably good. Yeah, that's not gonna get any better if I change that. I'm just doing slight tweaks on the pre-affines at the moment, just to see if I can get it to give us a slightly cooler version of the current effect that's represented here. I think most of that's actually going to come down to modifying the X forms a little bit more, but I could be wrong. We might actually get something interesting if I'm very careful about what values I choose. Instead of just dragging them around, now we're going for the fine-tuning version of this. Okay. So iterator 5 is also part of the main body. We'll probably modify that a little bit. Yes, that's right. You control that, don't you? Oh, no. There we go. It's like, why isn't that doing nearly as much as I would anticipate? And that's because I was modifying the wrong significant figure. That would do it. Do I want that positioned like this or not? This effect, this sort of down-falling, diagonal effect, is something you see frequently in fractals. And I say fractals. I suppose I should specify a lot of fractal art. Like, there are a lot of transforms, a lot of commonly used transforms that will yield that pattern in fractals. Okay. Okay, we'll go for something in between. When in doubt between two choices, just choose the middle. Why not? Yeah, so this is sort of the piece that we've been working on here for the first hour, and now I said for the second hour I wanted to switch over to a different piece, which was Note Cards Help Me. Flame Whip Mod 17. Right, we're about to go into a completely different territory, the world of Spherical Plants, and if you've been here on stream before, you will have seen a few of these. This was a work in progress that I didn't ever quite finish, and that I'm probably not going to do a ton of fine-tuning on. Instead, I'm probably going to modify it heavily, and by modify it heavily, I mean I'm going to warp the heck out of it. I'm probably going to do a ton of changes with pre- and post-transforms. In fact, I think if this is curl already set up here, yeah, it would be, on some spherical, because it's a spherical plant. Surprise! And then some foci. Oh, I was doing that to tunnel it inward, I see. Yeah, that would be why. Or was that... No. That wouldn't be doing what it's doing. Hold on. If it's on the first spherical here, it would be affecting the leaves, wouldn't it? Yeah. Oh. I see. Okay, nice. I see where I was going with this. Oh, this is some fun folk music. Thoroughly enjoying it. I think this is set up a little bit too high. What are my render settings at the moment? This looks like I set it onto the full render quality. Yeah, no. Oof. I do want AA quality too, so we can see it in a little bit more detail, but we want this at like 720. So my GPU can handle it and render it for us in real time. This is intriguing. I see where I was going with the Fochi. I'm very tempted to throw in... fisheye. Like this. So we throw this in. Obviously it looks terrible at the moment, but what if we set this down to a very small value? So if we do this, I've been using fisheye so much lately, but you get such cool effects with it. So the difference here, though it is incredibly small, is instead of this sort of, these leaves that we're looking at here, right, now we get a sort of curled in structure, which I think looks really cool. I think it makes the piece look a lot more interesting, personally. Okay, so next step here. Where would I want to go with this? So one of the things I don't tend to like about my spherical plants is when you're getting to a spherical plant like this, you've got the curvature of the spherical plant that's a result of, well, I suppose right now it's mostly a result of what I'm doing with this Mobius, isn't it? Yeah. What if we turned this back into a linear and saw it in its natural form? Then we'd still get this curl, wouldn't we? Yeah, we'd just get it not folded into itself. This is a true statement that I should have thought of before I decided to just change it. Let's go ahead and put that back, actually. Because the main body here is a result of curling. This curl isn't doing anything. It's a linear. Why do I still have it in here? Probably because it did something else at one point and I forgot to change it. I could get everything to blend together, but I don't think that's nearly as interesting an effect. But you know what? Why not? I've never made a spherical plant that really... That's not true. I think evocation actually kind of blended together a little bit like that, didn't it? But hey, whatever. Let's give it a go. This would be negative. Yeah. No, I take it back. No, go away. Let's go ahead and keep that at 0.1. Thank you very much. Just blur it all the way together. No, that's not a good idea. 2.5, maybe 3? You know what? We're gonna roll with it. I'm not sold on it. I'm not a huge fan of it. Namely, so what this is doing, the reason I turned this C1 value in the curl transform up, or I suppose I should say pre-transform, just to be very clear, this is pre-curl. What it's doing effectively is the way it's curling everything. This is a lot of these, what were previously independent vines. Trying to think of a good way to talk about the independent little parts of a spherical plant. These things, these lovely, I say indicating with my finger as though you can all tell what I'm talking about. These lovely little vine-like structures. What it's doing is it's meshing the whole thing together. I say turning up way too high. And so effectively everything becomes just a little bit more like cohesive. Like this looks much more like a single structure. Like it's all curled around and like warped in a way that blends it. And I'm not a huge fan of doing that because I like those independent vines, but because I don't typically do it, we might as well explore it. And I think I had some other versions of Flame Whip too, so what modification are we on? Save early, save often. We are up to version 30. Pretty sure the most number of modifications I've ever made to a single fractal was somewhere in the 100 range? I could be mistaken. At this point, I think it's somewhere in the 100 range. At that point, you basically have like 4 completely different fractals. Okay, so this spherical is set to 0.55. How much do I want this to be blended together? Probably not very much. I'm really trying to give this curl a chance. I'm really trying to give the curl a chance, but I don't think it deserves it. I really don't. I do like the fisheye there. Do we want the Foci, though? If I get rid of this, that was doing way more for the fractal than I thought it was, actually. That was a bad idea. Okay, I see now why I had that there. I severely underestimated how much the Foci was actually doing for, in conjunction with all the other transforms. It kind of looks like clouds with the curl, maybe a different palette. I agree. A different palette might be good if we wanted to make it look like clouds. I'm just not completely sold on the look, you know? I think this is actually like a very similar palette to the piece we were just working on. I have a bunch of default palettes that I tend to use when I don't know what the color of the fractal is going to look like. We could dive into, I do have some cool gradient packs by you know, Jess and Boxtail and a bunch of other people that we could work on. I mean, we could make our own. That is perfectly reasonable, but they have some really pretty ones, and I'm tempted to see if any of them might do well here. But before I do that, I do want to see whether or not I am willing to first leave it in the blending. We've got more than enough time. We've got a whole hour for this piece, so I'm in no rush to get to color quite yet, though color is a pretty key component of spherical plants in general. How much do I want them blended together? Not the. So I keep, you know, trending away from having them meshed. Whoa, that was way too high. But not that much. Okay. I do need everything to curl together. How much do I really want it to be? You know? Oh, I see. I was also putting in Crackle and Sign Blur because I add stars to literally every piece I do ever, because it's all got to be a little bit of space. It reminds me of broccoli right now with this palette, which I am enjoying. Broccoli is a decent vegetable. It is certainly not the worst out there. I would say that turnips are probably one of the worst. I've even tried turnips with honey on them, and that couldn't make them better. Ugh. Okay, this is... Okay, I see what it's doing for warping everything in, but I'm not completely sold on... I can't really modify these, the preaffines too much, because they're set to very specific values where, of course, if you move them even a little bit, it's going to destroy the spherical plant. That said, that got rid of some of the blurring, and therefore I kind of like it. If I shift them by ever so tiny amounts, it's actually decently okay. Ooh. Oh, interesting. Okay, hold on. I like what the curl is doing in this case. Yeah, because doing this means that it's expanded a little bit more, but this is what's controlling the fisheye, the actual warping, the Foci, and all that sort of stuff. We've just got a whole bunch of transforms just packed on there. Ooh. Okay. I kind of like that, actually. Also, don't forget to show support for today's bow tie with !bow tie. The music just stopped suddenly. Oh, okay, cool. That's just the end of the song. It was just very abrupt. I was like, where'd it go? Oh, no. Yeah, you know what? Hold on. Sorry. I literally just said, don't modify this too much, and yet here I am messing with it, thinking, huh, I wonder if this would do Something useful for the piece? And the answer is a little bit, but you gotta be careful. I do kind of like this structure, the way it's curling right now. It reminds me of, it reminds me more of Clouds, actually. But Clouds in a specific art style. I think it's a Japanese art style, and I am forgetting the name. It's very traditional, and yet I've completely forgotten the name of it. As you can tell from today's stream, I am phenomenal with remembering names of things. Okay. Ooh, no. Wrong significant figure. Don't want that. Okay, we probably do warp it too much, and it just all fades away. Yeah. What if we decreased it a little bit and got those sort of cloud-like structures a little bit more pronounced? The problem is doing that does sort of reduce the overall detailing. Yeah. I could rotate it if I was extraordinarily careful. Let's change it by 5 degrees and hope for the best. Sorry, that's not supposed to be 50, that should be 40. No. Take it back. Let's go 50 and negative 40. Yeah, there we go. That's the right direction. Okay. Interesting. What I'm intrigued by at the moment, yeah, mostly is this the way the little leaves are curling on the edge. I say leaves, I say vines. Whatever you want to consider the components of a spherical fractal to be. Of a spherical plant, I should say, not a spherical fractal. Words, what are they? We're sort of in crunch mode at work at the moment, so I've been spending so much time working. I woke up extra early today, to just keep working on my feature, try to get it done, because we've basically got next week to fix like 100 bugs or something that are currently blocking us from release, and then it's out to the public. So it's a lot of work, but it is enjoyable work. So I'm now going to modify the overall appearance of it by changing the final transform. I'm just not sure how much I want to do that. Okay, let's you know what? Let's keep the curling a little bit. I say curling. I should be careful with my words. The way it's... Yeah, no, I don't have a better word for that. All right, so let's increase this a decent bit. So that sort of explosiveness was part of what, for those who are familiar with any of my previous pieces, might have seen in evocation. Which is, for those of you who don't know, now featured on the front cover of Totem, which is Caltech's art magazine for this year. I was very flattered. And I say flattered because even though I am a co-editor, I didn't choose it. The other co-editors who were in charge of some of the other aspects of design actually went ahead and chose it, and so I was very flattered. In a blind choice, I'd like to note. Just make sure this doesn't feel botched, you know, like biased in my favor. And so I was very happy because I also really like the piece. I think it's probably the best spherical plant I've ever made. Evocation is a really pretty piece. And I thoroughly enjoyed making it, and the result that sort of like came out. I basically just rotated this unintentionally, but it's what happened. I will say that nevertheless, it's technically modified a bit because now we've sort of got like curling here and sort of an expansive structure. It didn't really do too much to change it, if I'm being completely honest. I am tempted to throw something else here. Maybe just modify this a little bit. See if I can get the leaves a little bit more pronounced. Leaves, vines, same thing. At this point, it's all equivalent. Anything plant related is what I'm going to use to describe the main parts of this spherical plant. Let's see. I am very tempted to change this. I say from a spherical to what would be something good, something a little bit better. I could change it from a spherical to a Julian. May ask, isn't that going to destroy the piece? The answer to that question, oh, not Julian. Oh God, sorry, that was the wrong one. Oh, no, it wasn't. Hold on, this is right. Oh, gosh, the default parameters are... This couldn't possibly be the default parameters. Hello? Sorry, set this to, first of all, let's set this to 1. You may be wondering, what are you doing? An answer should become evident, hopefully in the near future. Let's set this to 1 for the moment. Set the power up to 3. Wait, that's the inverse of what I want, isn't it? So let's set it to, hold on. Did I choose the wrong thing? I could have sworn this was the right one. Oh, does it paint the... No. Okay, I thought this was the right one. I might be mistaken. I might be remembering something completely different. No, I just need to set the power negative, because I'm good at what I do. I know what I'm talking about. Okay, hold on. Let's keep the distance at 1. This is not cooperating nearly as much as I thought it would. Probably as a result of how everything else is changing it. Kind of unclear. I thought this was going to warp it in a way that would sort of do what it's doing, but not quite. Yeah, no, this didn't do what I wanted at all, actually. I think I made a mistake choosing it. I had thought for a moment that maybe it would, So my plan was sort of, the result you saw there partially with like the multiple tendrils sort of coming out, I was kind of hoping it would do, essentially adding additional parts to it. It's not quite what it ended up doing, and I'm kind of surprised. It's possible I had the parameters wrong, because I could have sworn I used like Julian or Julia's scope in the past to make that effect. I tried it once with one of my other spherical plants. Though, that said, I could be wrong, and I might be remembering a completely different transform. But looking through it, I don't think I was. What are you? Scry. Oh, interesting. Oh, I have used that in the past, in place of spherical. That's true. Not what I was planning on using. I'm just sort of experimenting a little bit. Oh, don't want that to be negative. Oof. A little bit, just to see if I can get something slightly more interesting. But this really isn't the main culprit, if I'm being honest, from what's preventing it from being really cool, at least in my opinion. Maybe a pre-Julian. Oh, that was probably it, wasn't it? I was using that to position it. Yeah. In addition to the curl, which I could just get rid of. Yeah. That was probably it. I was like, I could have sworn this worked, but I was adding it to the main part of the fractal, wasn't I? I first of all need you to be toned, hold on, negative. And at 1, negative 2. I thought this was it. Could have sworn I used this in the past. That said, I'm not completely sure. It is not doing what I want it to. Yeah, no. I'm just gonna skip over that, but I'm gonna look up the previous piece that there was some piece in the past where I could have sworn I used that to make multiple tendrils in a really cool fashion. That said, I don't remember what that technique was, so I need to look it up. I will look into that after stream, probably, because I very distinctly remember trying that. What was I doing with Crackle here? Nothing interesting. Nothing I even want to bother with. Okay, so I do like what these leads are doing. I am, however, not completely sold on this. So I said not to do this, but don't you worry. We'll eventually get back to something that looks like a spherical plant. Hold on, what was the rotation again? This? Yeah, that's it. It's like inverses of each, or like flipped of each other, something slightly like that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now let's position it very carefully. Okay, I should probably be doing this with a, I should probably be doing this with the predefined like modifier itself rather than dragging it. It's just so finicky. Okay. It is a slightly cool effect. Sorry, what I was going for here for the record is like, you could create this sort of like nebula-like structure, which I've done in the past. Basically, you go for a sort of pillars of creation style thing, where if you have these flipped like that across like y equals negative x, then you sort of like, well, maybe you invert it. Like you sort of flip around what it's doing a little bit. I mean, not precisely, but sort of. And so you sort of get cool outer edge filling, and then like this interesting like unfilled middle that's mostly just stars, and then it kind of bubbles in a nice way. That said, I think I overestimated how good it would be. I've tried this once before, and I do remember not liking it. That said, I don't know, it's got potential. Probably want this closer to the origin. Just where it can be resting for the time being. Keep it there. No. I was kind of hopeful that maybe that would turn out interesting, but I feel like the anti-filled-in structure is maybe not the way to go with this particular piece. I was kind of hoping it'd be interesting, but eh. Because I have tried it before. I thought, maybe we'll go somewhere with this, but let's be honest, I don't really like it. I'm not even going to bother to experiment with that one even a little bit more. Just going to take it out of the equation entirely. Take it out of the equation. Haha. Math joke. Go for all the puns, I suppose, while we're here. Manipulating quite literally, like mathematical equations. I'm very tempted to have a math-heavy stream one day where I really just delve into the math of all of this. Like, let's talk about, Banach's fixed point, or fixed attractor theorem. And let's talk about, what makes an iterated function system an iterated function system. Oh, I sure love my mappings, like, on a nice neat stat, my contractive mappings to all, exist in this wonderful finite set on a neat little metric space. Yeah. I would bring out the PowerPoint for that one, probably. Just go into depth about all the fun... Oh, gosh, no. 9.5. There we go. All the cool stuff of the basics of, iterated function systems and how fractal in this way. What if I just throw in something else here? Let's throw in a Mobius right now. Host Mobius, you say? You're mad. Is this copying from this Mobius? I have no idea. Sorry, let's reset this to default parameters. What is that? The Mobius equation is, yeah, so 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. I clearly tried this at some point in the past. Ah, yes, I see where I was going with it. Okay. Let's see if this sets. 1 for right now. And then just... Yeah, okay. So I was using this to wrap it in a little bit more. Okay. Yep. That, however, loses us the cool curvature, the cool curling, for lack of a bit. Oh gosh, my fingers have been on all of the wrong keys today. I'm suddenly shocked when the fractal. Oh, okay, that's kind of cool though. It again gets rid of the thing that I kind of like, but at the same time gives me something else that's kind of fascinating. Yeah, but my fingers have been on all the wrong keys, and I'm suddenly surprised when I type in a -1 instead of a -0.1. Yeah, we'll leave that as is, because I mean, I could reduce or increase the detail a little bit, but I think it's already a bit much. So let's put that down to -0.01, apparently. That's a lot more sensitive than I thought it would be. -0.1 here. Now we're getting back into very traditional fractal, very traditional spherical plant territory. Trying to figure out how I want this all positioned, and if I want to change that at all. Ah, hold on. I could use this to... I could use it to do that, or I could use it to... Yes, there we go. Okay. Let's see if I can get a view of this whole structure. Yes, okay. Whoa, not that much. Either. Let's try 0.05. Okay, that might be taking it in just a tad too much. Okay. I believe that is for right now. I like that structure slightly better. I'm just sort of ignoring everything on the sides here, but I like this main sort of pine tree structure that we've got going on now. That kind of looks fun. I didn't like so what we had before. Let me get rid of this and then quickly put it back in. So what we had before. Did I not hit delete? Hello? Thank you. There we go. So what we had before that I didn't really like is the way it was like all condensed here. And while we've sort of lost the way the leaves looked, or the vines, take your pick. We can get that back. Don't you worry. First things first, though. I need to make sure these parameters are in a decent way. Okay. No, we do that as 0.2, 0.1 maybe? 0.15. That's too much. Take it back, 0.2. Yeah, we'll leave it as is. Let's go ahead and change this a little bit. Again, I don't want to... It's sort of returning back to that curling instruction now that I'm modifying it. And I just kind of want to ignore that. See if I can focus on other things. Yeah, there we go. And what I'm gonna try to do is just cut this out. Let's see if I can. No. It's way better on top. All right, there we go. That's okay. I say basically putting it back into its original position, for lack of a better place to put it. Oh, okay. Kind of like that. Would kind of like it maybe if it's a little more condensed, though. I'm trying to figure out if I want it more condensed or not. Alright, we'll save this as mod 34. I didn't really get rid of the curling too much. Sort of did, then sort of didn't. Went back and forth on it. Now we're back where we started. Except with slightly wavier leaves. Take that as you will. Could get rid of the waviness by removing the fisheye. Or changing its value a little bit. To be negative, but I don't actually think that makes it look better. In fact, I think it makes it strictly look worse. Just checking up on time. We have about a half an hour left. Plenty of time to do some more cool things with this. I gotta think about what I want to do then. Let's try to manipulate the position of this a little bit more. I'm gonna throw on a pre-Mobius. What? Why is this defaulting to this? That's really weird. Oh, what are these parameters? Where did you get them from? Again, this is mostly just light tweaking. I put Mobiuses everywhere. Because, boy, it's useful to have. Okay, I do like the detail added in there by decreasing that value a bit so it sort of zooms in a tad. Let's see if I can... nope, never mind. I was hoping that would be good. Never mind, that's just a tad too strong. Okay, these need to be tiny if I'm going to be doing anything with them. So I could merge it together a little bit more. I don't think I like that. Ooh. Wait, yeah, hold on. I was just thinking, if I increase that very high... That's pretty interesting, yeah. Oh, that's gonna warp it all out of position, isn't it? We'd want this to increase a decent bit, but that sort of blurs it, doesn't it? Yeah, it sure does. Okay. We'll find the right balance there. We've reached the the point where we need to balance detail with how I want to actually fill the whole thing up, fill the whole space. Oh no, cease, go back. Go back to your nice 0.05 value. That is one thing I dislike about Chaotica. Sometimes I mean to click on something and instead end up dragging down a little bit and it changes the value. Like I can't think of anybody I know who's used that feature. Because normally you want to be super precise and dragging the value down isn't helpful. One of those little quirks about Chaotica that I'm just kind of like, not sure I like that. No, we're just gonna leave those parameters as is. Okay. Yeah, I like the spacing, which is mainly the reason I wanted to edit that a little bit. Mod 35. Oh, I can't get rid of the fisheye. The fisheye's cool. Could throw in a post transform. What if I did post Mobius, I hear in my head, thinking maybe that'd be fun. But no, actually, what I'm gonna do is gonna try a post spherical. I'm gonna try very okay, that didn't. Yeah, I need to turn this up high if I'm gonna get the result I'm looking for. But no, I think it's just, sorry, 3? Yeah. The curling there is just a little too much. And yeah, maybe a bit stronger than I intended. Alright, post Mobius it is. Because when in doubt, Mobius it out. It's so nice for tweaking little details. I mean, it's not perfect if you want, like, really cool looking, like, changes to your Fractal. You want more interesting transforms, but I really just like making tiny little tweaks, and Mobius is really good for that. Again, as previously mentioned, I get really caught up on the little details. When in doubt, Mobius it out. Yeah, that's my motto, honestly. Okay. Oh no. Oh, that's why. It's getting a bit too thin if I do that, though. I'll leave it as that for right now. But I'm worried that this sort of spherical plant has lost its thickness. And that's a good thing to have, at least in my opinion. It's all kind of spread out, maybe a bit too much. Okay, tiny details, tiny little things. Post curl here. I could have post curl here instead of post. This Mobius is like barely doing anything for it, if I'm being completely honest. Attempt to throw in a post curl as well. Just cause. But I'm basically just making effectively what we did with the Mobius, if I'm being completely honest, like a little bit stronger. Like, there's really not too much difference. I shouldn't be worrying about making such a tiny modification with that. Yeah. I do like this background music. And it doesn't get us muted on Twitch, which is nice. Those are 2 pluses. I'm also just a fan of Celtic folk music, so I suppose I'm very biased. It's not what I suppose a lot of people listen to, but I'm thoroughly a fan of it. This is, of course, instrumental, but maybe I can find some royalty-free versions of classic Irish folk songs. We'll listen to Dulaman and hear a song all about seaweed. Okay. Okay. I'm sort of like, this is in an interesting place. Anyone have suggestions for where to go with it? Because if not, I could just load up a gradient and start working on it from there. Because we haven't done too much gradient work yet. And the colors are kind of nice at the moment, but they bear a striking resemblance, I think, because it's probably the same default gradient as in other parts, as in a different fractal that I worked on. Not necessarily the stream, but in a different spherical plant. So, maybe it is time to open up Chaos Helper. There you are, you beautiful thing. Paste from clipboard. I'm going to open up a gradient pack. I've got some of my friends' gradient packs stored in here. Actually, I haven't heard from Tatas in a long time, now that I'm thinking about it. Jess is still around. I don't hear much from Boxtail anymore. Boxtail doesn't like me, though. RC, Ordinary, yeah. Let's throw in something warmer from Tatas. I do like Tatas. I know we're not really designing our own gradient here, but that's... Considering we have 20 minutes left, that just seems like not a good use of time, in my personal opinion. Alright, I forgot the cool little grayscale option. Don't remove our final transform. Nope. Okay, paste. Alright, let's take a look at this one. Thank you for your bow tie support. Quest redeemed emote only chat, and that did not pop up here where I normally look at chat. Alright, well, it's time to do that. Redeeming it means I have to set it up. Or if my mod is here, he could do it. But I actually have to do it. I have to do it manually, rather than. Oh my gosh, there are so many. They've come up with this whole new design. I also get to see Aru's actions and all of the additional words that Aru has made permitted, and I'm getting a real kick out of that right now. Let's see. Hold on. Where is the button for emote only chat? Ah, there we go. Okay, we're now in emotes only for the next 2 minutes, thanks to what Quest redeemed, even if it was completely by accident. Also, good to see you, Quest. Nice having you here. We've got about 20 minutes left, or 15 actually minutes left, and we're just going to probably be working with colors for a little bit in the remainder of this. Now, terrible idea, but I just want to see what the random stuff gives us for the shaders. Don't do this. It's not worth your time. It's all garbage. We're just going to modify this all by hand and make sure it is all nice and neat and elegant and wonderful. So let's go to the shader. This is a very pretty gradient. This is one of the ones made by Tatas, who's an awesome friend. I see you guys are having fun with the emote-only chat. Glad to see it. Also, if I missed somebody else, anybody else redeeming stuff, do let me know. I'm sorry if I have. Apparently it's not... I have my computer open just in case my phone doesn't actually show me what's happening on Twitch, and it appears it doesn't show me when channel points are redeemed. So I'll need to check on that screen a little bit more often. We've got really cool new channel point rewards for people who stick around a while. It's really fun. Also, somebody let me know when 2 minutes has passed so I can change that back. I should have the gradient open while I'm working on this so I can actually see it and know where the positions are. All right. Love you, Chaotica. Love the Don't know that. Don't work with other... Yeah, we'll just leave it open here. Here, I say, looking for a place desperately on screen to keep it. We'll leave it here in the center where the rest of the world is. Oh, but the moment I click the world, it's going to disappear. Can't do that. Okay. Can I put this anywhere nice and neat? I can't resize the window, so I'll put it here. That only covers part of the fractal and lets me still see where the gradient is. Oh, the bot has mod permissions, so I guess it gets to ignore all that fun stuff, all of the emotes chat. Or I suppose none of you can actually notify me when the 2 minutes has passed. It's 10:45, so I'm going to assume that the emote only chat mode can be turned off now. There we go. Thank you, Quest, for redeeming your 700 channel points for that fun 2 minutes. And welcome back. Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of new fun things here for I'm so glad it was only 2 minutes. 2 minutes is actually the default. That's one of Twitch's things. One of Twitch's ooh, I do like that position of the fractal. One of Twitch's suggestions for channel points, and I was like, you know what? Why not? But considering I just hit affiliate status and we only have 2 emotes, I was like, let's keep it at like 2 minutes or less, because that's gonna disenfranchise far too many people. All right. Choosing the right colors for this fractal is going to be a nightmare. Okay. Can I do... I suppose negative would... Does that take it from the end of it? I never tried that before. Not that I think it would do anything of interest, but it's just suddenly curious. I do want the blend speed up a little bit higher. I like the idea of like the color and like starting here, right? And then it becoming, and then like creeping up on the whiteness, because it's a really pretty, palette. But it's also really intense. So we might need to change the palette location a little bit. I say losing the white. And wondering what would be a good way to get it back. If at all. Oh, we do get stuff on the outer edges, because it wraps around to purple. It's a bit intense, though. It's a bit intense. I do like this sort of like dark veil of night-esque theme, though. That's kind of fun. I don't want to remove it too much, but I also want to be able to see the fractal. So we might turn up brightness. We might do it. Also, the music stopped, and that's sad. Aw. Music, come back. Windows Media Player, you've abandoned us. No. I'll turn on this, I guess. That's so loud. Okay, there we go. Much better. All right. So let's take a look at this part of it. Yeah, the outer edges here. Sort of a deep purple. I actually need to go to bed. Before I do, please explain what the program is and what is your goal, what your goal is making this. So this is Chaotica. It is a program for editing fractals, specifically fractal art. So it's a whole bunch of math, and you don't need to know a ton of math, honestly, to really get started making fractals. There are lots of fun tutorials online, and you can sort of use artistic intuition to make them if you want, though knowing math does help. My goal with this right now is to edit an old piece. It's called, this type of fractal is called a spherical plant, and at the moment I am desperately trying to color it in a way that looks really cool. And while I love the dark purple into red into golden, like that's a result of this wonderful palette made by a friend of mine, Tataz, I am nevertheless conflicted about how dark that purple is. So that is my current goal, but thank you for stopping by StreamQuest. I will post the finished fractals later in the Discord. Okay, so let's see here. What can I do? I like this purple. I'm just not sure I like how deep this purple is. That's only gonna make it deeper. That said, oh yeah, I guess this is true. If I rotate it around, if I rotate it enough, rotate through the palette enough, then I can get to the other side of the palette. Okay, let's try that for right now. I don't want that too bright. Again, really loving this sort of night-esque theme. I also need to 100% shadows because you added another achievement after I did 100% it. That is true. I had an update back in March to fix a couple of things, and I added in a new achievement. I'm glad somebody out there still remembers and is active about the game. That that was made in an engine that I'm not using anymore, so there won't be any further updates to it. I also kind of ran out of time, even though I had so many fun ideas for stuff I wanted to do with it. Shadows, for those of you who are tuning in and have no clue what Quest and I are talking about, is a game I made back when I was 16. Or 17. Yeah, I guess it got published when I was 17. And it was the first game that I published on Steam, like my first real PC title. And Quest was one of the beta testers, and helped out a lot. I played it when you were 16, yeah. That was 5 years ago now. Because that was back in the beta. And it was a lot of that's not the shader. And it was a lot of fun making it, and I learned a lot, but I had a lot of ideas that I didn't have time to implement, unfortunately, by the time I needed to release it, mostly because I was about to go to college. I had a ton of stuff to take care of, and I knew I wouldn't have time to work on it when I got to Caltech and started my studies. So I had to publish it a little bit earlier than I would have liked. But I think the game still did okay. I mean, it's not like it's a famous title or anything, but it was it was really enjoyable making it. And there was just a community of people that really got into the game, really helped out a lot, and I appreciated it so much. Like everything they did to help out with that effort. And then a friend of mine, Walter, otherwise known as MF Palatime, did a nice little YouTube video review of it, which sort of helped it gain a little bit of popularity. And that was very kind of him. He certainly didn't have to, but he did anyway, and that meant a lot to me. Anyway, that has nothing to do with the fractal that we're trying to paint at all. I say tweaking, palette locations and tiny values here and there in an effort to color this better, thinking that perhaps if I just okay, I kind of like leaving this as is, like at 225, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to change this one. Oh no, that was a bit too much. And after a while, I got competitive with the achievements. Yeah, I don't know how many people have 100% of the game. I think you might be one of like only 2 people to like really go after all the achievements, because there was one really hard one and I put it in there and I was like, I think only less than 0.8% or something of people. I'd have to go look at it. It's the one hidden achievement where you have to complete the whole game without dying, which was really hard. The music stopped again, so I'm going to assume that was a really short song. And we have another 5 minutes, so I'm going to put on another quick song from our lovely little folk list. Courtesy of Windswept, spelled with V's. Alright, so... Alright, I'm going to stop worrying about where the colors are for the moment. I'm going to go back to imaging settings here. And I'm going to turn up the brightness. And I'm going to turn down the gamma. And then I'm going to apply before curves, because apparently that got turned off at some point. And that actually looks really bad applied before curves because I turned down the gamma so much. Yeah, no. Okay, 3,5 apparently is 35. Interesting. Actually kind of like it without applying before curves, which is weird. That's not something I normally say. Windows Media Player has abandoned us once more. Alas. Immortal, 4.3%. That's actually a lot higher than I thought it was. I'm kind of surprised that many people have successfully managed to do it. It's a really hard achievement. This image reminds me of the image that crashes Google phones because it is beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate it, Quest. Okay, so I have this at negative right now. That's probably not good. I suppose it's 0. I don't want it filling too much. I do kind of like the purplish, though. Would apply before curves completely ruin this? No, it's actually kind of nice. A bit intense, though. Like, I know that's a result of high gamma, but I don't want to lose, like, this sort of brightness on the edges there, because that's a really nice effect. Oof. I don't know. I think this is pretty cool. I like the colors. It's a smoother gradient. It's not super epic or interesting, but it's not bad either. I think we've created something that's pretty fun, and I've enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have enjoyed today's Fractal Art stream as well. We do host these every Friday, and let's see, tomorrow we're going to be playing Cluster Truck. I have theoretically gotten it working again. There was a bug in the store that I was using, and so it wouldn't launch everything, but that's going to be tomorrow from 9 to 11 ET. It should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to having Twitch chat make my life incredibly difficult. Let's see. I say looking forward to. And then on Sunday, we're going to be having the DOS2 campaign. We're going to be continuing on into Act 2. Should be a ton of fun. I love Divinity. One of the best games ever made. If you haven't seen it, you should stop by the stream. It's a really great game. And then in the evening, we'll be continuing with our Ori and the Will-o'-the-Wisps playthrough. And that'll be a lot of fun as well. I think we're on episode 5. It should be. We've just collected the second of the wisps, and then we're gonna get to the third one, and then maybe start on the fourth one. We'll see how that goes. Should be a lot of fun. I think that's all the housekeeping I need to do. These fractals will be rendered, and they're gonna be in the Discord in I'm gonna say 15-20 minutes. That should be all it takes to render. And I just saw someone in chat that I should definitely ban. Where's Aru when you need them? Let's see. Where's the button? All right. There we go. Let's go ahead and block that person. There we go. Not sure. Probably just some bot coming in to spam stuff. Wouldn't worry about it too much. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's stream. This has been a lot of fun. Renders will be in the Discord soon, and I hope you all have a great night. See you tomorrow for the Cluster Truck stream. Should be a ton of fun. Doing a nice community game. All right. Bye-bye.